Welcome to the Friedman Show. Today we're going to talk about the most powerful Stoic practice, Amor Fati, or learning to love fate. What happens when you learn to love? What happens? You stop blaming others, you stop blaming circumstances, you stop blaming your past, and in doing so you become unshakable. You become resilient. You are able to thrive no matter what happens. This is a superpower, and today we're going to cultivate it together. If you want to be reminded of this power throughout the week, don't forget to subscribe. It's free and helps us get this message out to more people. Also leave a comment down below. Let me know how you first heard about Stoicism and what you're hoping to get out of this channel. I love reading those. They're incredible, and maybe we'll feature some of them in an upcoming video. So let's get into this idea of Amor Fati, loving fate. Here's a great quote from the Stoics, which is, quote, "Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, be mindful of the frame of mind you bring to it." When we think about the word fate, we often think about things that are negative, things that are out of our control, things that have been forced upon us, things that just, quote, happened. But what if we changed our perspective on this? What if instead of seeing fate as something that's against us, something that's working against us, that's trying to bring us down, keep us from being successful? What if we saw fate as something that was for us? What if we saw fate as something that could help us grow, could help us become stronger, could help us become better people? What would our lives look like then? How would we approach life if we thought about fate, thought about what happened in our lives as happening for us rather than happening to us? A good example of this is the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, obstacles, things that stand in our way, actually help us grow. They help us become stronger. They actually move us forward. We can use these obstacles. We can use this fate that befell us, this, quote, bad luck, and turn it into something that makes us better. So how do we do this? How do we practice Amor Fati? How do we learn to love fate? Well, the Stoics had four main practices around this idea. The first one was this idea of negation, right? And what does that mean? That means that when something happens that's outside of our control, when something happens that we didn't want, when something bad happens, we say no to ourselves. We say, "I will not let this upset me. I will not let this ruin my day. I will not let this get the best of me." It's a very simple thing to say, but it's incredibly powerful because what you're doing is you're taking back control. You're saying that no matter what happens, no matter what fate throws at you, you're not going to be bothered by it. You're not going to let it get to you. So when you practice negation, you're saying, "I am in control of myself. I am in control of my emotions. I am in control of how I respond." And that's incredibly empowering. Now, the second practice the Stoics had was this idea of acceptance. And what does that mean? That means that once we've said no to ourselves, once we've said, "I won't let this bother me, I won't let this ruin my day," we accept what happened. We don't fight it, we don't resist it, we don't try to change it, we simply accept it. And that doesn't mean we like it, it doesn't mean we enjoy it, it just means we acknowledge it, we accept it, and we move forward. One of my favorite quotes about this is from the Stoic philosopher Epicurus, who said, "Don't fear life. Life is not going to harm you. It's asking you to live it, to experience it, to make the most of it." And so when we accept what's happening, when we accept the fate that's been dealt to us, we're saying, "Bring it on. I'm ready for it. I'm not going to run away from it. I'm not going to hide from it. I'm going to face it head on." The third practice was this idea of objectivity. And what does that mean? That means that when something happens, when we see something, when we hear something, when someone says something, we try to take an objective view on it. We try to see it for what it really is. We try to understand it from all angles. We don't jump to conclusions. We don't make assumptions. We don't let our emotions cloud our judgment. We simply observe what's happening and we try to understand it objectively. This is such an important skill to develop because it allows us to not be so reactive. It allows us to not be so emotional. It allows us to be more rational, more logical, more clear-headed in our thinking. And when we're able to do that, when we're able to step back and objectively look at a situation, we're able to make better decisions. We're able to stay calm. We're able to focus on what's most important. And finally, the fourth practice was this idea of action. And what does that mean? That means that once we've said no to ourselves, once we've accepted what's happened, once we've seen it objectively, now we take action. We take action based on what we believe to be right. We take action based on our values. We take action based on our principles. And we don't worry about the outcome. We don't worry about what fate has in store for us. We don't worry about what might happen next. We simply do what's right and we move forward. And that's incredibly powerful because what you're redoing is you retaking control of the one thing you can control, which is your actions. You're taking responsibility for your life. You're saying, no matter what happens, no matter what fate throws at me, I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep doing what's right. I'm not going to let anything stop me. So when you think about these four practices, negation, acceptance, objectivity, action, it's almost like a formula for dealing with whatever life throws at you. It's a formula for developing the superpower of loving fate. Now, it's not easy to do. It takes practice, it takes dedication, it takes commitment. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the more you do it, the more resilient you become. The more you do it, the more unshakable you become. The more you do it, the more you realize that no matter what happens, you can handle it. No matter what fate brings your way, you're ready for it. And that's an incredibly liberating feeling. Now, if you want to go deeper on this idea of loving fate, I recommend reading a book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It's one of the greatest books ever written, in my opinion. And it's all about how to live a good life, how to deal with the ups and downs of life, how to deal with success, how to deal with failure, how to deal with everything that life throws at you. And it's all based on the idea of loving fate. It's all based on the idea of accepting what happens and making the most of it. Now, before we go, here's a quote from the Stoics to leave you with. It's from the Stoic philosopher Seneca, and it goes, "We're not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. We're afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion." And what does that mean? Well, it means that we shouldn't underestimate the power of the few. We shouldn't underestimate the power of the strong. We shouldn't underestimate the power of the brave. Because no matter how many sheep there are, no matter how big the flock is, if there's a single lion leading them, they're dangerous, they're powerful, they're unstoppable. And that's it for today. Friends, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I will see you next time.